welcome to our Tagmarshal 4.0 Optimization Masterclass. We're so confident now with the content that we have added Masterclass to the title. This is episode 1, Enhancing the Player Experience with Tagmarshal 4.0. We have our customer success team on this call and quite a few of our partners. So thank you so much for making the time. We understand that you're all busy. I have with me Craig Clue, our COO, and Jack Green, our Senior Customer Success Agent. Gents, how are you today?
Yeah, good morning, Bodo. Good morning, Jack. Very, very well. I'm excited to show the listeners and watchers what we have in store.
Indeed. Okay, we have about 45 minutes and want to leave a bit of time for some Q&As as well. So any questions, shoot them through in the chat. We will try and answer them as best we can. A quick recap on where Tagmarshal's status. It has been an amazing season for us. We have really grown our footprint and are now partnering with 600 courses. Some of you on this call would have been around the block with us, and you may remember a webinar when we were excited that we had 200 partners. Now it's really ramping up quickly, and it really shows that the industry is turning towards technology. This year we had a few big name partners host amazing events, like Valhalla hosted PGA Champs, Pinehurst hosted the US Open, and St. Andrews, the old course, hosted the Ladies Open, which also was tracked with Tagmarshal Tournament Track. That's obviously great, and our team is very excited that we were proud by association here. But what's always important for us is that, and that's if you've ever seen an adoption curve of technology, there is early adopters, and then there's an early majority, and at some point the late majority then starts to adopt technology. But what we've seen is that the early adopters are 3 to 5 years ahead of the majority of the market, right? And we are learning from the very best, right? We have been working with some of these partners for the last 7 or 8 years, and they have really poured so much of their knowledge into what we then turned into a system, right? So Tagmarshal 4.0 is no different. That is another system iteration that we've now upgraded with lots of feedback from the ground and from some of the very, very best operators. Craig, to throw you under the bus here, I know that you work often with Matt Barksdale from Pinehurst. What's one of the things that you know that they're excited about when it comes to working with the system?
Yeah, I think they've been customers for a long time now, and they've visibly seen improvement across the board from experience point of view, but also measurably in their post-round surveys. I think their net promoter scores have improved materially over the time they've been partners with Tagmarshal, and we're very proud to be part of that. They obviously go quite a bit deeper than many of our long-standing customers. They do things like measure green speed and how that impacts pace of play and stuff like that. Very proud to be in partnership with them, and trying to harness their innovative spirit is something that we look forward to every day.
Yeah, for sure. Matt coined a phrase that they're a laboratory for golf, right? So for us to partner with them obviously makes us an extension to that, and that's very exciting. 50 people on this call, so no pressure there, Jack and Craig. There's another exciting thing that happened for us this season. We got a Series A capital raise squared away. That's how I lost all my hair. Obviously amazing for our business because it means we can now further invest in good people and also in innovation. And talking of good people, I think the team here is all online. It's Peter Taylor is our customer success manager, Dean Mans, who's our Canadian customer success manager, Jack, who's on the call with us, Cole, Vainant, Terence. So a lot of these are former PGA pros, and we're building out that team to really make sure that the product lands as best as it can in the market. And obviously, if you've, nobody understands a golf manager's position better than somebody who's been in that seat, right, and has worn those shoes. Also, Joey Walters is our Mr. White Glove GM. Many of you have met him. So, we're doing more and more of that, and really empowering good people to help make the product land, and do lots of training and coaching. Again, as I said, we have now tracked 75 million rounds. Our system gets smarter and smarter the more data it consumes and aggregates, and we can really give that back to everyone out in the market. And the evergreen support at tagmarshal.com. If anything's wrong, we're here to help. So let's go back to the crux of the matter before we dig into the system and how to get more out of it. Things haven't changed, right? A pace of play, if anything, is still a top experience factor for players, and more so also for operators. 84% of operators, according to an NGCOA survey, coined it a top 3 priority for them. So all of you on the call, you're already on it. You're already being proactive, and 74% of golfers are saying it's top 3 priority for them. The only thing that ranks higher is course conditioning, right? And we had a discussion the other day in our world of instant gratification, Amazon Prime, DoorDash, all of those things, calling an Uber that's here in 3 minutes, right? We are actually getting less patient when it comes to service, and we are feeling this as operators, right? Golfers want instant gratification. They want things to work, and if we want to be there for that next generation golfers, and there's obviously more and more floating in from Topgolf, we have to give them an experience that they want and that they're signing up for, and that's technology enabled, and that is with a measure of time control, right? Because time is at such a premium. So I can get home before my DoorDash order gets there, or before my Amazon Prime delivers, right? So it really goes hand in hand, and if anything, pace of play has become more important, right? And also it's a more competitive space. I want to allow Jack to talk to some of these findings that have come out of the USGA research. This is Professor Chris Kunover on stage here, and they presented this a while ago, but again, it's evergreen. Jack, you know the importance of pace when it comes to the player experience. Do you want to jump and talk us through some of these findings?
Yeah, thank you, Bono. So, a positive player experience can be influenced by several factors. As Bono mentioned, pace of play is a top 3 factor, but you can see, the player experience can go sour, if a small amount of challenges can arise. So, waiting on the group ahead of them, not receiving proper communication, also the interactions with a course marshal or player assistant can impact the player experience as well. So we see that the experience for a player can be influenced very quickly based off of the interactions with the staff as well as the technology available.
Yeah, 100%. And to back you here, so there is nothing more polar in the player experience than things that are pace related, right? And ironically, Craig, who's a co-founder of Tagmarshal, he felt that way back, next year will be 10 years ago, that we started this journey building a technology company in golf, because he was an aggrieved golfer on a golf course, right? And other people's speed was the big problem, and the marshal placement was the big problem, right? Where's the marshal? Why do I have to wait? Four groups backed up on hole 13. We have to do it better. And at the same time, corrective pace of play actions, that gets the overall worst score by golfers, right? So we have to do this really well, and we have to make sure that other people's speed doesn't get in the way of an enjoyable round. On the flip side, positive ranger etiquette is the #1 top ranking delighter for golfers, right? So here we have a perfect opportunity to use Tagmarshal, making sure that we fix other people's speed, also sometimes the player's own speed, And we don't do negative corrective pace of play actions, but we change that into a positive interaction. And that's what Jack is mentioning. And that's obviously where technology can really help. And you would have seen this at your own course change over time. Just want to open the floor here to my two colleagues. Craig, talk to us about some of these improvements that some of our partners have seen. That's all recent, right? And why should we care if somebody gets 15 or 20% better? What's the big deal?
Yeah, I think there's some long-term partners on this slide, and if I could sort of dial them in, they'll quite quickly tell you how important experience is to their customer base, to their membership base. Not just from a bottom line perspective, which I know we're going to in a few months' time, but if they can guarantee a consistent flow of play and a consistent performance, well, they're winning, and it's making their job really easy. So the managers of these courses who are seeing these tremendous returns, and we can talk to them individually, Carl at Valhalla, etc. Who do we have here? Sorry, the pro from Sereno's head's just gone out of my head, but these are guys that have worked on proactive pace strategies for a long time, and they really are able to do that now. They're dialing into experience, and what that means is it makes them more attractive from the club down the road, right? If you can guarantee a really solid experience for your patrons on your course, and the club down the road can't, well, where they're going to go? Go ahead.
Kevin Paschal is your man at Sereno, right?
Of course. Sorry, Kevin, if you're listening.
Kevin is busy. But here, like Oxmoor improving by 18 minutes, that to me sounds like 2 tee times gained, right? Also, if we are bringing our average round time through at under 4 hours, that is always a winner with golfers, right? That's the golden ticket. Not every course can do that. Some are longer, some have got transitions, some are tough to play. And we always know that our customer number one is Erin Hills, 2017 US Open hosts, a 5-hour round, 4-hour 59 round at Erin Hills, the best time you'll ever spend, right? So that's where a 5-hour round is appropriate.
So maybe just to add, so I remember when certainly Briderwood, sort of probably 6 years ago, they're, I think, going into their 6th season started, they would have sold their soul for results like this. But what's interesting to see is that they continue to raise the bar in terms of providing results that are consistent. 81% of rounds on pace would have been a significant achievement in anybody's books, but for them to up the ante and do that again really means a lot to them. Some good track record here from our long-standing partners.
Yeah, I know that's they're part of Advanced Golf Group, right? And I know Larry Galloway, one of the principals, he had told the story where they had a golf course that they made it so popular it basically killed the golf course, right? Because at the time they didn't have technology to manage pace, and it got a reputation, and then people just hated the golf course that was so popular, right? So they could have saved that business with the right tech, and that's we want to dig into it now, but let's just take a look here. And Craig, you mentioned the Net Promoter Score, and for those of you who are not familiar, so Net Promoter Score is the rating from 0 to 10. If a hotel, an airline, a restaurant asks you how likely are you to recommend this product or service to your friends and peers. So many of the bigger resorts do Net Promoter Score tracking. They want to know what's the intent to return and what's the sentiment of people that go through our experience. So for them to get any sort of gains in Net Promoter Score is worth immediate dollars. It's worth immediate intent to return, right? And they measured that they got up by 20 points and 12 points better, right? So it's a huge improvement. And we heard the same from Sand Valley. I know not everyone tracks this, but that is another measure over and above the round time and having stable on-pace rounds. that comes back and is worth a lot to the business. Yeah, our NPS is at 82. So again, that's Vail Resorts. That's Philip up at Keystone in Colorado. Jack, I know you work with the Keystone team. That's one of your clubs, aren't they?
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, what give us a tidbit there from Philip and what's important to them.
So being in the Colorado mountains, their season is about 5 months maximum. So being able to provide technology that can get their rounds in under 4 hours consistently has a very positive impact on their customer base. And being that they're a resort, they have packages where customers can stay on property and have a round, which really can improve their sentiment, because if they can get their round in under 4 hours or feel like their round is fast enough, that gives them more time to enjoy the other amenities through the resort.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, yeah, it's time to look at some of the actions. What can you do to keep improving, right? Because we're all in the business of creating experiences, and where we see the role of technology is that technology needs to make sure that things work better, that there's trackable outcomes, and there is improvement, whether that's big momentum shifts or big step changes, but very often improvements incremental, right, over time. We need to just track it, right? Technology needs to do that so that people can do what people do best, and that is create experiences and build relationships, right? And empower other people within the organization to do the same. Where in the past, we just added more people, everyone runs around with their hair on fire. Now, just to make things work, right? Now there's more and more technology available to help us make things work better, and people can do what they do best. So here are a few of the things that we want to talk to. And the first one is the live map. Obviously, we know we're tracking usage data across every one of our 600 or so partners. This is where managers and their staff spend a lot of their time. So here's your legacy system, as you know, and Tag 4.0, which is our upgrade, is to the right. Here's a beautiful course down in Florida that our design team has chosen because it's quite impactful. I think, Jack, it would be awesome if we could actually launch your a live course now, and you can show us. And so one of the things that's new is that we have modular sidebars and modules that you can pull onto the live map. And so Jack, if you want to launch that, I'm going to stop my share, then you can take over. And Craig, maybe you can talk while Jack gets set up for a minute of why we have done that in terms of not every course is the same, and what do people want to see.
Yeah, so we've taken our cues from our customer base who are saying oftentimes, can you do this in the sidebar? Can you do that? And why don't you position this above that? So what we've done, and what Jack's going to show you very shortly, is make that customizable so you can see exactly what's important to you. If you're a private course, that might be who the players are in the group. And if you're a public course, that might be with two-way screens. What's important to you might be sending messages to groups. So now you can position that where you need it to be. And we think that's going to enhance the experience for our users. We spend so much time trying to enhance the experience for their customers, but we think it's time to give something back. Jack, why don't you show them?
Sure. So I've clicked on tag 33. As you can see, the player information looks a bit different than what is shown on the legacy system. What Craig alluded to with being able to customize your round information bar. At the top right here, we have our settings button. If you click that, you can now drag and drop what is most relevant to you or your player assistants as they utilize their Marshall tablets, or if they are going to, for example, logging player assistance and seeing round information is most important to them. So you can drag and drop that to the top of the list, as well as hiding other areas as well. So if you don't want round control or device information available to a specific profile, you can hide those areas as well. And when you press save, that bar is now customized to the most relevant. One of our major improvements here as well for our two-way partners is being able to send a message directly to a device from the round information bar. So in the past, you'd have to open up a module, leaving the live lineup site from your dashboard map, and now you can send a message directly to a device through the round information bar.
Jack, I think if I can ask you to show us, and you're going to have to mute yourself. Thank you. I'm going to challenge you to live fix your audio. Don't do it now, but what you can do is, if you don't mind, and I think yeah, the points made here, you can see quite a lot of more information. And we know that a lot of our partners use this on an iPad or on a tablet, right on the go, or they have it obviously up in their clubhouse. So what we know is that not every club's different. There's preferences. Also within the course, you might have a manager wanting to see a different thing to a starter, wanting to see a different thing to a player assistant, right? So this is not all possible. Show us the live maps modules that you can also place alongside the live map. And then I'm going to ask Craig to talk to that because his audio is not corrupted.
Yeah, Craig, I'll just pull it up, and if you want to talk through it, that works. I'll mute myself now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jack's going to pull up what we call a widget view, map widgets. Essentially what this does, and we've got a couple of options here, that he's got the ability to pull out some pertinent information that you would normally have to navigate away from the live map view to see. For example, your time schedule as groups go out. Or if you're using the goal times module, you may want to see what goals you've set up for the day, and you may want to see how your team are doing. I know we go into that a little bit later, but if you've set a goal for your team to interact with players and give them that delightful experience, and your goal, for example, is 30 interactions in a morning, well, now you can track it live next to the map. Also, if you want to see player information or round time information running live next to the live map, you're able to select that widget. And there are other widgets that are part of this function that you'll be able to choose from in the future. But I think, Jack, you omitted one of the other enhancements, and that is very often your starters are flicking between their tee sheet and the live map, doing both the job of the pace assistant, managing pace of play, but also assigning players. Well, we've made that easier now. You can assign directly from the sidebar, which is one of the widgets that's part of the sidebar here. So if you go down, you can actually change your player. You would be able to select through your tee sheet, remove a group, or reassign a group at your choosing. So we're trying to make the starter / player assistant's job a lot easier, so he doesn't have to flick between pages, and he can actually keep an eye on things whilst he's doing his job.
Yeah, thanks, gents. I think another thing that's visible here is you can actually see the groups moving, right? Where in the past they used to jump from zone to zone as the information got passed through the system. This has now got much more of a live movement feel to it, which gives you a more accurate position of the groups. So all of these enhancements obviously accumulated over time. And Craig, maybe I can ask you also to quickly speak to the time schedule and also the gap time monitor and where those learnings have come from. And I'm thinking specifically Pebble Beach one, but also obviously the tours that we work with.
Yeah, so when you look at a map visually top down like our live map does, it gives you relative distance, right? and if you know the course well, you're able to intuitively understand if somebody's out of position. Well, it's not always that easy for everyone, especially people who are part of your team that are new on the job and they don't understand the course as well as you do. So what we've tried to do along a linear curve, which is what our gap time monitor attempts to do, and attempts, I think it does it very well, but effectively it shows you where groups are in comparison to each other in a very linear way. So what this gives you an opportunity to do is to see immediately where your problems are. And if I'm looking at this course right now, I'm looking at hole 13. I can see on the 13 tee box is a group, and our system has identified them as being out of position. They're essentially, they've just teed off and they're moving into the fairway, but they've got a whole tail of orange, or what we like to call delayed groups, right? And you can see that the group ahead is actually on the next hole. So they're clearly out of position, and this gives you a nice way of viewing it in that linear fashion. Obviously, Jack's just clicked on the actual group. You can go and see very easily who's in the group. The players that are assigned are listed there, how long they've been playing for, how out of position they are. These guys are 13 minutes out of position. And it tells you who the group ahead is as well. So it gives you all the information you need in order to have an interaction with them. And guess what? Instead of driving out there, this is a two-way course. You can send it to them on their screen, and you can do that right from the live sidebar right now. And if you wanted to have a look at what happened to this group, perhaps they've lost a ball, and see the history of what's happened, you can click on the track map, and that's going to open up their live track map. Jap, I invite you to do that now, because I think there's some nice information that we can show. So, for example, we're going to that group, we're going to view the round, and we're going to see how this group has progressed through the round. And there was a question posted earlier, I noticed, and we haven't got to it, but essentially somebody's asking, how do you see the history and what's happened? Well, this track map shows you that very nicely. Each time you enter a zone on the course, it evaluates your status, right? Are you delaying groups? Are you being delayed, etc.? I want to invite you, Jack, to go to hole number 12. Rather, and click on the little token on the tee box. Okay, so what that tells us is you were delaying, you were magenta, right? And it tells you the information, you were 11 minutes out of position. And it gives you a nice synopsis of things. What's also really useful, and Jack, if you can go back to the live map view, is viewing live track maps of groups in real time. So you can actually see them on the map. And Jack, I wonder if, can I invite you to just have a look at the real-time track map on this live map of a particular group, so you can see where they've gone relative to the field. I'm hoping you know how to navigate to that. All right, so I think if you click on marshals, you click on the marshal. Okay, you see they've got a marshal and marshal designated. If you want to see player devices, you can go down to player devices, which is the 4th group. Down at the bottom, you can go to card 13. Or just pick any card for the sake of the example. You can click on it and you can actually see their live track map. That's not something you're able to do in the legacy system, which has obviously been something people have asked us for over time, and we've now added it. Where this is really useful is if you have geofences, you can actually see where the cards have transgressed. Not only in the past where you had to go to the report and open the live track map and see the breach, now you can actually do it on the map whilst you're here in your live map. So you can obviously see the trend developing here. We're trying to put the tool set in your hands whilst you're watching live play, so you don't actually have to click out of the live map view.
Show us a slow group here, Jack, maybe 26 or any of the others, just so you've picked a rabbit group there. I think the trend of what we're doing with the system is becoming evident here, and that is that we are looking to give you the toolkit that you need in one place, right? Rather than the legacy system, you had to go from one section to another and use a menu. Here you can just navigate and get to what's important. Jack, I'm going to take over again if you don't mind, so that we can stay on track with our presentation. Where are we? Okay, share. Okay, so yeah, just a reminder again, obviously very important in an optimization geared operation, you want to have systems talk to each other, right? So we have probably 25 or so integrations now. If you have an integration that is not currently live or not working, please chat to us so we can help get that going. And that is obviously your T-Sheets, but also might be Golf Genius. And we're even talking to Golf Now around integration, where we obviously part of their product suite is Easy Links, so that's integrated, has been for a long time. But the more pressure we can put on Golf Now, the more likely it is that they'll open up an integration for us there too, because that really makes things just so much more seamless, right? So we're going to talk to 2 points around this. One, which is our next section, is personalizing service and the play experience, and the other one is the auto sign, which is also a new feature that we have up and running. I just want to fly through this quickly. So the messaging we spoke about, interaction tracking is very important for multiple reasons. We want to make sure there's presence out on the golf course, but also we want to make sure that we catch those groups early if they are falling out of position, right? And normally, if you can get on top of a group in the first 3 or 4 holes and show presence, that helps the performance of the field later on in the day, right? Okay, so the gap time monitor, one of those really straightforward views, linear. You can immediately see where the backups are, and that also plays really nicely into the whole runtime, which we're going to look at in a few minutes in the Analytics Hub. And again, you can see the player names, so that allows for more personalized service and interaction. One of the things that we didn't see now with our example course is we can obviously show drinks carts, we can show marshals, we can show superintendent vehicles. So the more data you put on the map, the more you can benefit from that, right? And it's really just a smart addition so that if you want to know where your drinks cart is, and are they effective, are they in the right place, are they providing optimal service? If you want to make sure that your superintendents are more dialed in and they know where the players are, where there's viable gaps in the field versus their team, just chat to us and we can help get that set up for you. Customizable widgets we've spoken about, and so let's jump ahead. Direct messaging from the sidebar, obviously super useful as you're out on the go and you see something's happening on the other side of the course. You don't even have to go there to go have an impact. This is what this looks like into the two-way world, where we have an 8 and a 10-inch that will go and display and interact with the players. Maybe going back to Craig here for a minute. When and how is it important that we can assign groups from the sidebar?
Yeah, I think oftentimes your starter will assign, they've got a set role or somebody from the pro shop is assigning. And you're a marshal out there and you're doing your job, and you notice they've missed a group. Well, it's very easy for you to fill that group in now. You can do it from your sidebar without leaving the screen. Obviously, the reason we want to collect as much and assign player groups, especially in the service world, is we want to build profiles on players. So we want to make it easier for courses to do that, so that they're building that history, so that when they do need to assess their player base from a flow and pace point of view, they have those stats. And I think we talked to that in a later session, the player profile aspects of the system. So we will get to that, but that essentially is why it's important to give you guys a tool set that helps you collect more information more accurately from the screen that you're working on.
And it's over and above the player profile and the personalization opportunity, it's also important to know, is this a single? Is it a two-sim? Is it a four-sim, right? Because that obviously impacts how they're moving across the course.
Of course.
Yeah, another big adjustment that makes things easier, right? And again, remember, like the better we can have our toolkit set up to allow us to be proactive in managing pace, the more we're serving our players, right? So here's one that we have worked on and refined with a lot of the course groups that we're working with, like True in the Premier Group, Advanced Golf, and then obviously some of the multi-course resorts that we have up and running. They're saying, well, we don't have time to look at the system the whole time. Make the information come to us, right? And also we want to check across a suite of golf courses who performs better than others, right? And what can the high performers learn, or the low performers learn from the high performers? Craig, just to lean on you again here. Talk to us a bit about this next iteration and that feature of the pace disruptors.
Many of our users will remember the pace notification that we've had and have in Legacy, and that effectively alerts you to when a group has fallen X minutes behind the goal time. So if your goal time's 4 hours 10 and the group through the progression are 10 minutes behind their sort of allotted goal time, it'll send you a text message. Well, the problem with that is what happens when the field slows down, right? Everybody starts generating text messages because you can only play as fast as the group ahead of you. So what we've done is we've packaged the feedback on that with some of the really smart work that our algorithm's doing to identify when groups fall out of position, i.e. against their goal time, they're behind by a certain threshold, and that may be 10 minutes. And not only are they 10 minutes out of behind their goal time, but they're actually falling behind the group in front of them by a certain amount of time. Because basically what you have then is you have a slow group playing behind pace, and you have them out of position relative to the group ahead. That's what we call a pace disruptor, and that is effectively what we're bringing to market. So it's an automated way of alerting people to that situation so that you can deal with it immediately. And why is that important for our operators? Well, some of them don't have time to look at the map and scrutinize it, especially if they've got a smallish marshal team or no marshal team at all. They're relying on our system to provide them with real-time information that's accurate, and now that's automated.
Yeah, because just to add to this, in simple terms, the legacy system would show a group out of position, and there might be, and it's a really big problem on the map, but it might be a 2-minute problem, right? They're 2 minutes out, and once you click on it, you understand that. You're just like, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about that. So here, this is an overlay basically where you can set your thresholds. And in gap time or schedule time or both, right? And that is when that then really flags the issue that according to your standards, and if you, as a manager, you always want your team to be on top of it, you can then say, okay, once we have this threshold reached, that's when we need to act. It's okay if there's a plus minus 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, that we don't need to be that sensitive, but here's a threshold that really requires action. And that is then, what's showing on the live map too, and it's very, very directly visible. So
Yeah, sorry, Porter, just to jump in there as well. What this gives sort of professional course operators an opportunity to do is track how often those situations go unattended to, which I think from a lot of directors of golf who are relying on staff to use the system effectively is a very nice thing for them to be able to see. You know, we had a number of problem groups in our morning field. Well, how many of them had an interaction? And if the answer is no, well, you know, you can hold your team to account. Either they're not doing their job or they're not recording it in the system. But yeah, either way, it's better to know.
Yeah, and again, like, why should we care, right? But if we're decreasing our rounds that are not on pace by 15%, that's another 15% of our course visitors that we're making happier, right? And that's another 15% of people. And if you're running a busy course and you're tracking 50,000 rounds, that is a lot of people that have a better experience, right? So it immediately translates into the play experience if you and when you are proactive around this. Yeah, here's Kate at Castle Pines, one of the our younger managers that have really come through alongside the system. He was a former assistant, and he wouldn't run an operation without the tech. Just before we wrap up this section, and we've got two more sections to get through. Let's just take a quick look at because it's not an easy thing to manage well. Every day that has a big shotgun, it's all hands on deck, right? Talk to us about one or two of the improvements that we've made to that, to the shotgun management.
Yeah, I think it's way more flexible than it was. You're able to schedule shotguns, you know, in a much more proactive way than you used to be able to. You're able to assign groups very easily. You can also now assign to 9-hole rounds, which was something that in the past has been problematic. Once your shotgun's triggered, and it's not really shown on the screen, but once your shotgun's triggered, some of the live functions that people used to have challenges with, adjusting who's in a group, adjusting perhaps what start hole they started from, is now a lot more intuitive and flexible from the live map view. So we've really dug into the shotgun start functionality, which was one of the most sort of problematic aspects of our previous system. If you have a two-way system and you're using Golf Genius, many of your tournaments are going to be shotgun started. You know, it's a very popular format for event play. So we're making that more and more accessible to you, and making sure that Golf Genius experience in the cart with a live leaderboard is there, rather than people having to access their phones and do it manually themselves. You know, we all want to put our phone away. Well, now, because the shotgun module is available, that makes the Golf Genius module more attainable for our operators as well.
Yeah, you always have much more compliance around score entries if it's in front of a player's nose, right? And you can also prompt their score entry once they're off the green. Okay, let's jump into the play profiles, and I know that we've got a bit to get through. The auto assign, I think, is an important automation, and then we want to maybe have one or two white glove service opportunities, sort of best practices that we want to talk to. The auto assignment, it makes things so smooth. Like, if you have your T-sheet integrated, you can basically let the system do the work now, right? Where in the past it used to be a case of you have to assign a card. Now it automatically assigns. So that is based on a group going over a start zone in or around an allotted tee time, right? So instead of instead of you having to assign this as the day progresses, the system does it automatically because it knows the position of the cards, or the position of the tag or the bag, or the player, and assigns it to the most likely available tea time, and also understands if once a day gets pushed out by a few minutes that it needs to adjust alongside that, and it'll only ask you for confirmation if it sees something that's out of cycle, right, and out of sync, right? So instead of having to do it 25 times, you only have to maybe check in with the system once or twice. The system asks you, have I got it right? Can you help me understand? Is this now that group, or is it the next group, right? And that again helps with the compliance around making sure that our names are feeding through onto the live map. Jack, I don't know if your audio is fixed. Let's give you another try. But yeah, maybe you can talk to some of the food and beverage enhancements that we've made. If you're okay with that. If not, I'll hand it back to Craig if your audio isn't working. Let's see if you are good now.
How's this? Is the echo still there?
Oh, you're a champion. You're good.
All right. So the food and beverage menu, we're able to link the menu to an advertisement that you've set up through the advertisements module. So you can set your kitchen hours so that the menu is only accessible when the kitchen is open. And when they tap on the ad through the screen, as you can see in the image on the left, a menu is populated onto the screen where you can then place your orders. A notification is sent to your orders module. Now, it's very common that a kitchen account will be created where a custom notification can be sent via a phone call to the kitchen or an email or a text message to a relevant party to then key in the order, print the ticket, and prepare that food and beverage item to be ready once the player reaches the halfway house, and cutting time at the turn.
Yeah, and if the player names float alongside that, obviously we can now personalize that experience a bit, right? It all adds up, right? If you're going to your favorite local, people know you by name, that adds a lot to the experience, and that is really what people want from your golf course, right? Personalize my experience, know that I've been here before, and greet me by name wherever possible, and that is possible with the the integration and also assignment and all of those cool features, even at a busy daily fee golf course, right? Any interaction can be more personalized. So here's and we're going to not deep dive this too much, but obviously any private club knows the value of building player profiles over time, because pace is such a huge topic at any private a club or country club. Lots of politics around it, and sometimes very, very harsh rules. So to have data really levels the playing field. Yeah, this obviously we've also upgraded and enhanced further. But yeah, just to close out quickly, because we obviously want to stay on time and maybe answer a question or two. The Analytics Hub, another key tool. So where we've now spoken about the live management a lot, the Analytics Hub obviously has the back-end data of what makes what we believe is the economic engine of your operation tick. What can we learn from that, and how can we improve things with this? So here's the legacy Analytics Hub that already looked pretty cool, but now we've really added another layer on top. And there's so much more functionality that can come out of this. One of the things we want to talk about and we want to just touch on is the concept of staggered goal times. So you can see that very clearly here, where the blue line is a goal time, and we've this course has staggered this across a 420 up to a 440. Very often we see this actually start at really fast morning times, 3:30, 3:40, and then going into 4-hour, 4:10, and there might be multiple staggers. Craig, if I can ask you to talk to that just for a minute, why should we consider that? What's the benefit ultimately to the players out on the golf course if we do that?
Yeah. Look, we've looked at ways to help clubs enhance capacity on their tee sheet in a way that doesn't impact the experience for the people playing on that day. And what we've noticed over time is that, and this is obvious, right? The faster morning players typically get through the course a lot faster than the afternoon, and your pace gets progressively worse through the day. So basically, they set the pace. Now, if you want to have a quick and healthy day, you want to make sure your pace setters, the people playing in the morning, are playing quickly. And we call this fast lane, your fast lane players, right? So what you want to be able to do is set a goal time in the morning that is slightly quicker than a goal time mid-morning, and probably quite a lot quicker than a goal time for your early afternoon field, especially if you've got a 1T start. It gets progressively slow through the day. And what you're doing effectively is you're borrowing from the rich, and you're lending to the poor. What this enables you to do is to possibly gain additional capacity at the back end of the field, or in those gaps that your dynamic pricing is starting to sell and price rounds at a premium. So if you can borrow from the quick and give to the time interval that your dynamic pricing is effectively charging your rounds out at a premium, well, guess what? You're leveraging your tee sheet in the most appropriate way.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. So I think what obviously we want to remind you of is that we don't expect you to take this all away and implement it on Monday. Firstly, we'd love to invite you to launch Tag 4.0 at your course if and when you're ready. And for many of you, it's end of season soon. Using the shoulder season is actually a great opportunity to get to know it, right? Because things are winding down a little bit, and you can get a feel for it. But that is really where we're relying on our customer success team to help you get set. And then also, look at the data a bit more broadly, because obviously we have lots of data available on your course that we're not necessarily making available, that we can help you dig into, so you can make better decisions. And one of the opportunities for that is an end of season report, right, which we'll talk to in a minute too. So the variable goal times is really a key tool, and what you're doing is you're pulling your day along. You're managing your early times to a tighter benchmark, so that the mid-morning, where things slow down, has a bit more breathing room, right? And we've seen this applied so many times with such success at Pebble Beach, at Kiowa, at a lot of private clubs that are looking to create a bit more capacity, that are looking to create a more customizable and personalized round of golf for players that like to play the course in 3:30 versus a granddad and grandchild that want to play it at 4:30 in the afternoon, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all world any longer, and you can really start managing things accordingly. So that comes down to personalized experiences and really making the course memorable, rather than all-you-can-eat buffet straight down the middle. We can really get more nuanced with our management around things now, which is super helpful. Riley here talks about pace interactions and how it helps to have the data. So this is obviously where the interactions are key to track and log, right? So you can do that from the live map, logging interactions. And we also want to pull that into the post-round data, which is your track map, which is your analytics hub, right? So that we know, has our team been successful in interacting with players positively and encourage them to get back in position so they don't wreck the day for everyone else. And one of the things that we're finding really helpful if you want to track performance, and you should do that everywhere in your business, you need to set goals, right? So the goals can be achieved, and the system needs to do that and automate that, make it easy for you. Craig, if I can actually, no, Jack, because your voice is now working so nicely again. What have you seen work here, and what are some of the key items to set up when it comes to goal setting with the system that you've seen some of your partner courses be successful with?
Yeah, Bodo. So what I see most frequently are setting small goals when first implementing the system that are achievable, and growing that goal as your team becomes more adept with the system and their use is and engagement with the system increases. So typically interventions, logging, maybe focusing on those crucial times of day or in the morning as well, and then growing that into setting goals for the entire day or for the entire week that your team can track, and you can use the reporting for the Marshall notes to then review that with your team. See, okay, if this Marshall or player assistant has a success rate of 90% when they intervene, what are they doing that others can learn from? So being able to leverage that data internally is very impactful.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, it's incremental, right? So we want to create these habits and processes, and track performance around it. And it's just little things. If we do the little things well at the right time with accuracy, that's when big results happen. So this is where we'd really encourage you to look at your goal setting opportunities, and our team is here to help you set that up. And start small, right? And set weekly goals, set individual day goals. Not every day runs the same. We know. We help you do that. And interactions, on-course interactions, catching groups out of position early is one of those. And we want to make sure that the team stays on top of that when it matters. I think this is our last sort of data story that we want to talk to before we actually at the end of our session. Let me just quickly jump to one question that has come through. Are you able to manually add a player or guest through the tablet on the live map, even if that person doesn't have a name in the T-sheet? Yeah, you can do that. Just go and assign them. Absolutely. When does this new version go live? It's already live. We want to invite you. Let us know when you want to go drive it. We can set it up for you. Yeah, has there been any headway made on integrations on existing food and beverage POS to capture payment online order? For example, we use Toast. So yes, there has, but obviously we're going to go with that's Tyler's question. The big ones that we have 20, 30, 40 courses on. Those are the ones that obviously are saying, well, we want our Lightspeed integrated. Can you help? So we are in discussion with Lightspeed, and those are things that we're working on, because we know, yeah, systems need to talk, and we want that to be as efficient as possible. Okay, but before we answer some more questions, let me jump back into one of the data points that comes out of the Analytics Hub, and this is the whole-by-whole stats, the whole-by-whole runtime. Craig, I know this is something that you're very excited about. Yeah, why should we care? Why should we look at this? And also tell us the opportunity that a lot of our partners are seeing when it comes to dialing in the superintendent a little bit more into the experience creation.
Yeah. Anecdotally, people look at hold times and they tend to think, okay, well, the slow holes are where the slow play is, but that's not true, right? We all know as golfers that some holes are more difficult than others or longer. So simply looking at the length of the hole and how long it takes someone to play that particular hole doesn't give you all the answers. And 4.0 is very good at telling you how long a hole took and how long a group took to play the hole. Well, now, sorry, that was legacy. Roll forward to 4.0, we now are capturing how long it takes you to play each segment of the hole. And why this is important is because what you can start to see in the averages, for example, your 14th tee is playing a lot slower than it typically would do on a day when pace of play is good. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you people are waiting on that tee box, right? So now you know where your pain point is. So if you can see on the 14th tee box, that's where the wait time is accumulating. Well, you know there's a problem that's leading to that on average. And it often has to do with course setup. And this is where you can dial your superintendents in and ask them to add features to the previous hole, or when whoever's designing where the tee box or the pins are going on a particular day, try to be cognizant of the fact that if they're set too easy, well, you get a lot of wait time on the next tee box. And often that will happen when you've got a short par 4 where the carry zone is right up near the green, right? But now you have the tool set to evaluate where that is, and you can actually see where the wait times are accumulating. And yeah, I'm very excited about that because I often get asked that question by our many partners.
Yeah, so I think you can see it here very clearly. We've got hole 5 minutes out, halfway house 4 minutes out. Very often halfway house the culprit, right? Hole 12, 7 minutes out. So what we want to do is, once the system's up and running, we want to dial things in and calibrate into the actual runtime at the course, and then set the goals for it. But then if a hole is not performing, we can really look at these opportunities, and sometimes we need to buy time for it in the hole ahead and do something that's counterintuitive, or we need to make things a bit tougher or easier with our setups, right? But you can only understand that once you look at the data and once you look at it holistically, also with your superintendent. Again, it's incremental, right? If we can shave off 3 minutes here, 4 minutes there, 5 minutes here, that's another 12 minutes gained, which is, and again, I can't stress enough, if you have 200 players out and you're bringing your day down by 20 minutes, that's literally hundreds of hours that 200 players now have to spend with you in the clubhouse afterwards. Whereas if things go 20 minutes bad, that's hours that they don't have. That's when they leave early, right? That's when they don't spend more time and more money with you. So it all helps, and the Net Promoter Score shoots up alongside. So it's incremental improvement, and we think of Tagmarshal as an incremental improvement machine. Just to close out quickly, obviously we've got a lot of partners, especially daily fee courses, that are saying having this information is so valuable, but we want to make sure the players understand what's happening here, right? So they can you can put what we call a TV page, any smart TV, install it in your clubhouse. And it'll show some of the critical items that the system spits out, right? So here's your goal time, expected time today. You've got your live view, and already players will see, hey, what's this on the map? Why is this group 18 big and hairy and purple? Well, this is what the system does, right? And it tells us, and we make sure the group ahead of you stays ahead of you and doesn't fall out of position. So we want to ensure everyone has a great day. So people understand that very quickly, and we can then show, some of those items and make it publicly accessible. And it really helps with self-policing, and it really helps with perception. We won a webinar recently with one of the premier group that's a Troon child's courses at Bellevue up in Seattle, and they said their course had a perception, because it's actually quite a short course, that it takes a long time to play because sometimes there's wait times, whereas the effective pace of play, the effective play time is 4 hours and 7 minutes, right? So the moment they show players that today's play time is 4 hours and 5 minutes, or even better than we're trying to be, all of their complaints went away, right? Because there's real data, and there's real visibility. So that obviously one of the easy things that you can add, and a smart TV doesn't have to be the biggest one. It's $200 well spent. And what we also see, it's obviously easier for your team too to then stay up to date of what's happening out on the golf course. I thought a fantastic session. We are a little bit over. We're the pace guys. That can never happen, but there was so much to dig into. But we have 2 more coming up. Episode 2 is efficiencies and labor savings with Tagmarshal 4.0. And then the last one is optimizing revenue with Tagmarshal 4.0. For me as a business owner, that's the one that I would definitely attend, because that's the end game, right? So we would invite you to join again. If and when you, if that's of interest, and thanks to all of you for taking the time. So as next steps, first, if it's end of season for you, look out for our customer success team sending out an invite to provide end of season reports. So there's a quick one-pager that shows you the status, but then we have obviously deep dive reports that you can request if you would like it. It's all part of our service. If you are interested in test driving Tag 4.0, getting it up and running now in the shoulder season, let us know. We'll make that happen for you. And then obviously into the next season, or if you are coming into your high season now in Florida and Arizona and so on, we definitely want you to run with the upgrade. Again, you all know your team that is looking after you. Never hesitate to reach out to them. Any technical issues, support's here to help. What questions do you have? I think we should have been there 10 minutes ago. But there's one question that I've seen here from Justin. When will 4UP be integrated with Tagmarshal? 4UP will be integrated in 2021. That's already done and dusted, so that we can automatically assign names to you. Please reach out to your customer success agent also, or send us a support ticket so we can help get that set up for you. 4UP is a great integration. They've got really nice APIs for our team to dig into. Jack, Craig, we still have 46 people on. So if there's any last thoughts or takeaways, and if you can think of any more questions, shoot them through. Anything else to consider here from how can we improve the player experience with the technology that's available?
Yeah. Look, I think the people are dropping off at a rate of knots. So that must mean Jack and I's input is not as valuable as yours, Bodo. But one of the questions that came through was, you can set your variable goal time, but what about your interval time? Does the system help you determine what interval time works for you? And the answer to that is it's quite a lot more detailed question that we answer with more data at the end of season. So if that is something that you're considering, I'd invite you to ask your CSA to do a report and to help you navigate answering that question. It's quite a loaded one, right? Means more revenue if you're shortening your interval time, but it can impair experience significantly. So you need to consider a few things, and we can help you. We can guide you through that tricky decision. Jack, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I saw a question come in regarding averaging an individual's pace of play for an entire season. That is something that is incorporated into the new player profiles module in Tag 4.0. You can actually segment the player data by season, and then run a report to then calculate the average of that player's season. So lots of great enhancements. I do encourage you, when you do test drive, to reach out to our customer success team to do a one-on-one demo where you can get a much deeper dive into the system.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Let's here's the team. They're all very excited about these enhancements and bringing them to you. So we'll make sure that they have all the tools needed. Here's a question. Everything I heard, switching to 4.0 does not affect the membership. It only gives the staff better information, correct? Yes. So look, if you have a two-way system, obviously there's enhanced features that in terms of interacting with the players. If you have the classic, the tracker-based system, then this is purely for you, yes. But you have a lot of tools at your disposal that obviously then benefits the work that you can do, and also how you can interact and manage the players.
There's some really great questions coming through here.
The membership will not know when we switch to 4.0 unless we tell them. Correct. So that is, we are a business tool, right? So we want you to get the success that and streamline some of your processes at your operation. Okay, here's another question from Tyler. I don't think about gap time between groups in terms of time, but space in the number of fairways and greens. Could we add literal space between groups and not just time? Yeah, that is exactly. We have done a lot of studies on that, and obviously the space between groups fluctuates depending on where they're at. And this is actually something where the gap time monitor comes in. The tours are obviously really good. You wouldn't think so, sometimes watching on the weekend, but they're really good at understanding how a day runs at an event. And this year we've tracked all the USGA's big amateur events, for instance, and their be-all and end-all measure is gap time, right? They want to know what's the gap time between groups, and that is time-based, not distance-based, because as the course winds in on each other, as a group spends more time, and they're putting it through, the other group pushes up on them, and then the group speeds away again. So that's always changing. So it's really difficult actually to understand the dynamics out on a golf course if you're looking at spacing, physical spacing between groups. So the gap time is such a key aspect to that.
And actually, our gap time monitor does attempt to do that. It does it in a uniform way. And what I'm saying is the par fives, you'll see the gap is longer than the par four for the fairway. So it does show you in a very linear way how far groups are spatially from each other. I hope that answers the question there.
Yeah. So we have tested all the ways in which you can possibly track that, and that's really the one that's shone through as the one, right? And again, like, hats off to the tours, because remember, if you're a manager running a tour event, you're going to an event next week at a golf course that you've never been at before, right? So for them to make sense of the field, where maybe they see it, in the trainings or so on, is really difficult looking at the actual space between groups. So that's why they've distilled it down to the gap time is what the critical variable is. Okay. I'm loving all the questions, but we do want to make sure everyone can get back to their busy days. If you have any other questions, shoot them through to your customer success partner. And we'd love to have you on our next session. And if you have any questions in the meantime, we're here for you. And if you would like to get Tag 4.0 up and running, let us know, and we will put you in the queue. Craig, Jack, a really amazing session. I had a feeling that we might go over time because there's so much to talk about, but I do think it was well worth it. Thanks to both of you, and thanks to everyone who made the time today. Great to share with you all. And we will end our session. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.